Everyone, it is September 8th. It is a Friday, 6:22 p.m. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Wars. Today in this space, obviously, there's a lot of news coming out, a lot of China fear, FUD, whatever. It's pretty interesting. I think, I'm just going to dive right into it. I think a lot of people that are into Bitcoin are very sort of emotionally attached to it in the sense that, like, they believe that you should never sell any of it and it's going to be the store of value in the future. And to a certain degree, I do believe in that. Like, I do believe in that mentality and I agree with it, but to a certain extent. I don't think I'm 100% that way. And I don't consider myself a trader. I don't day trade. I just strictly invest. And you can't want to make money just off of volatility, but rather an idea expanding and getting bigger. But when it comes to the centralized exchanges and the risks they propose, I think that it is very possible that China will shut down all the exchanges. I don't really think it's just a rumor. Why? Because the Chinese government, along with other government entities, and such as Korea or even America, they're run by extremely evil people that want to control you. Okay, it's not usually a passive person you get in the White House. Usually it's someone with the incentive and the want to control. I'm more of a person who leads by example rather than order. Lead by example rather than order. That means I walk this way. If you want to follow me, you can. I'm not going to make you follow me. So the people that make people follow you, the tax regulators, the bank, the people that control the bank, they are not good people. Don't think that the people that run the central bank, yeah, your local tellers and stuff, I'm sure they're good people, but the people that are massively printing money and just, who gives them the authority to just create wealth out of thin air? All-seeing eye on the dollar bill. If you think that they're just going to let Bitcoin just, replace that without putting up any sort of fight, and the same goes for what's in China, you're sadly mistaken. Okay, this is a revolution. This is kind of like, a form of digital war in some ways, computing war, because it's a peaceful war and a non-violent war. But it's still a war. There's still two sides to it. You have the central bankers on one side and the central Bitcoiners on the other side. But I don't really think, I'm not going to sit here and say that cryptocurrency isn't going to see hard times because of regulations, because of this. I do believe it is. So I think we're going to keep seeing a price decline, probably around 3,800, 3,600, maybe even 3,400. 3,500. That is that volatile on the upside. It could be that volatile on the downside. I'm not bearish on my cryptocurrency. I saw some not even a percent of my position weekly. And not even weekly. Maybe every once in 2 weeks. I'll just so I can have money to survive. Money reserved, which is what you're supposed to do. If you're not going to do that, then you'll wait and it'll keep going down, and then you might need the money, and then you'll sell on the low. So it's better to be prepared and to not have to panic. And I'm not saying not even sell 2% of everything. I'm not even saying 1%. I'm saying 1% of a percent, whatever. But I'm saying don't be so it's going to go up forever. Don't be so emotionally attached when it's on the upside, on the downside. I don't know. I think people are a little emotionally attached in that way. I think a lot of Bitcoin maximalists, they get in denial when they hear bad news. Bitcoin isn't God. It's not perfect. It's not. There's a lot of flaws in it. And, this is why I'm going to tail into Bitshares also, which is the world's first decentralized exchange. And now, if these exchanges keep going through problems, and Bitcoin keeps going through problems, I think you're going to see Bitshares kind of pull ahead over a lot of other altcoins, maybe not necessarily Bitcoin, but a lot of other altcoins. The reason being, they can't shut down Bitshares. No one can control what is decentral. And so you can see a lot of the Chinese move to Bitshares because it's that decentralized exchange. And they would be able to use it legally. And you have to understand, governments are not your friend. Regulators are not your friend, you know? When you're in Nazi Germany, you think they'd allow Bitcoin? You know, if it was then, do you think not the Nazis would have allowed it? No, because it's a way to give people freedom, okay? See, the regulators can't control things like gold and silver because gold and silver is bigger than them, okay? It's bigger than governments. It's God's money, you know what I mean? So I just thought I'd mention, you know, Bitshares, you know, in the news because that is the one thing that couldn't be shut down, even if the Chinese wanted to shut it down, because there's nowhere to shut it down. Bitshares is everywhere at once. You know, you can't go to a decentralized entity like Bitshares because it's everywhere. It's on the blockchain is universal all at the same time. Where things like, you know, on UB or whatever the, you know, Jubai or whatever the Chinese exchanges are, those are all central entities and they have a central building. And if the regulators want to go there and say, hey, maybe we're not going to shut you down, but we're going to pass laws to slow you guys down, even that, it just hurts it, you know? And I'm not going to sit here and cheerlead when I see problems going on. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to panic, you know? So I just remain calm and I just, you know, I look at it as like every 2 weeks, maybe I'll sell like $300 worth. Why? Because I need US dollars in order to survive, okay? So that's the way I see the situation. You know, maybe hear the news for what it is, but, you know, I think we're going to see continued regulations going against crypto. I'm not going to sit here and say that governments and banks are for it because that's the whole point of it is freeing the people. And they're freaking out because they want to control you. They're not your friend. The Chinese government, not your friend. The American government, not your friend. The federal bank, not your friend, okay? You think it is. You think this is a nice, pretty world. You all live in a fantasy and in a fairy tale. But that's not the case. When you went and got your student loans and they charge you 5% interest on top of the 2% inflation, and all of a sudden you can't pay back your student loans because you're so fucking far in debt because you spent all your money on beer and, I don't know, women vodka cocktails, you know, whatever. I mean, what do you expect to happen? This is the real world, man. This is where World War II happened. This is where World War III will happen, okay? Don't think, you know, right now we're seeing an economic bubble, so yeah, there's a lot of, it's a time of peace, but, you know, people only resort to warfare or, you know, I don't know, you know, uneasy times come with economic disaster, not with economic prosperity. You know what I mean? When people get desperate is when you see their true self. So, you know, I just had to get my insights. I've been watching videos, and I think a lot of people are in denial. You know, I'm not. I'm a crypto head. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, you know, it's gonna go to 5,000 tomorrow. No, it's probably gonna go to 3,800, 3,500. We can definitely see a big pullback coming up. So that's all I got to say today. Peace.